Does the government, does your government look into this stuff? Did the government respond to it? Were there comments from
No.
official spokespersons?
There is so little government response, if any, in Mauritius, and so little media coverage that I tend to think that they are probably under the orders of greater powers. Mauritius has very strong links to the US. The first ever US consul or envoy to leave the US and go abroad was a Mr. Pike in 1875 who came to Mauritius, because Mauritius really contributed to the War of Independence for the Americans' freedom. So there is this symbolic link between the two countries, and the former Prime Minister is the son of the father of independence, Sir Sibu Sago Ramgoolam, and has very good ties with the two nations, the UK and the US. The current Prime Minister and the government are more closely aligned to India, so I don't believe that he will have been as well read in as perhaps the former Prime Minister.
Mauritius has its own military forces? Or
No. Well, it has, excuse me, it has a special military police force, but not an army.
More like a home guard.
Exactly. And I've interviewed one of the members of that police force who basically helps to guard a radon satellite base. And a radon satellite base is basically a satellite that's shielded by what looks like to be an enormous golf ball. And we know that these satellite receivers can go far beyond atmospheric conditions and look into space. And I think they're looking into space in order to try and monitor or detect what is manifesting or appearing outside of Earth's atmosphere. And it just so happens that there is also a site in perfect alignment with this base called the Vortex, which is said to be an energetic center. It was meant to be onshore, near to a beach at a place called Rion-Belle, but I believe that this is either moved or the information was inaccurate, because I personally sense the energy from the sea, as do others, but the base is in perfect alignment with that location. And it would make sense to be as closely positioned as possible to the site in order to try and pick it up. There's been extraterrestrial related stories, people that work at the Vortex site who have said that tall, white, pale complexion men and women have showed up in a 1950s Cadillac. That was in 2004. There is no owner of a Cadillac on Mauritius, as far as I'm aware. They were extremely beautiful, both sexes, and they communicated with him telepathically. Not one word was verbally spoken to him. And I was informed that they basically stood in a circle and performed a type of ritual or ceremony where it felt like they were moving the energy of the site, which I believe has now moved closer to the base, which is now being constructed nearby.
The base, what?
So this is the radon satellite base of Rion-Belle.
Right.
And I interviewed a military policeman who works there, and he says that they're not being told about a deep underground base that they can hear and are aware of that's directly beneath the satellite receiver. And my bet would be that there isn't any Mauritian personnel in that base. It will be entirely US intelligence-led and international intelligence-led.
You think there really is an underground facility there?
Absolutely, George. Yeah.
Where is Mauritius in connection to Diego Garcia?
Mauritius is part of what's called the Mascarene Islands, which comprises Reunion Island, which is currently owned by France, Mauritius, and Mauritius's sister island called Rodrigue Island, which is a few hundred miles off the east coast. Diego Garcia forms part of what's called the Chagosian Islands, and these islands are several hundred miles away off the northeast. During the independence process, the UK were under great pressure from the Johnson and the Kennedy administrations to carve out this archipelago in order to retain it and allow the US to set up a military base, an Air Force base. It's been a matter of great controversy. There's still ongoing hearings and indeed legal action that's taking place within the context of the UN, who have given a legally non-binding opinion, an advisory opinion, to release the islands and return them to Mauritius. What does that mean in reality? I don't think it means a physical return of the islands in terms of the use. I think it would probably mean just, the US paying a rent directly to Mauritius as opposed to the UK, who are the current leaseholders under the British Indian Ocean Territory.